Welcome to another episode of Bright Headed Publishing Audiobook Book Club. I am your host, Kelly Morgan, and today I am excited to bring you the last section of Teriece Cherell's book. She is the author of Live, Learn, and Love with an Open Heart. We have heard the two first sections of the book on two previous podcast episodes. So if you have not heard section 1 and section 2, go back. If you're just joining us for the first time, that's okay. You've got time to go back. She is here with us today. Let me give you a little bit about her. She is from New Orleans, and this woman wears many hats, as I've said before. She is a mother. She is a minister. She's a motivational speaker. She's a relationship coach. She's a co-editor. She's a stakeholder for Louisiana for the My SistahCode. She's into women empowerment and networking, and she does all these wonderful things. And on top of all of these hats that she wears, she's actually an author, which is why she's here with us today. We're going to be talking about section 3, not part 3, section 3 of her book, Live, Learn, and Love with an Open Heart. Teriece, welcome again. I'm so glad you're here to talk about the section 3, the last section of your book. And I don't want to, waste any time. So let's just jump right into it because I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for having me back. As always, it is a pleasure. And section 3 is loving the legacy. So we've lived the life, we've learned the lessons, and now we're going to love the legacy that we're leaving, not only for our children, but for the world, for future generations to come. Chapter 7 is Time is of the Essence. And this is actually one of my favorite chapters. It's my book. I'm going to say they're all good, not just because it's my book, but outside of 7 being one of my favorite numbers, this chapter is something that is very important to me. And it really changed my concept and appreciation of time. So time is something that I've always been fascinated with. It's like a mystery. Where does it come from? Where does it go? It's just one of those things that it's always going to be, and if you don't roll with it, you're going to get ran over by it. And when I think about time, I think about the cliches. Time heals all wounds. Time is filled with swift transition, and time waits for no one. But when you really think about time, I ask myself, what is time? Time is a unit of measure used to determine the process, action, or condition of which something exists or happens. So when you think about time, you'll begin to see that there is a reason and a season. Time has a purpose. And there is a purpose for everything. Everything has its time. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. So time is very important, and especially in light of what we're dealing with this year, 2020, with COVID-19, it really just made me appreciate time more. Appreciate the time with family and friends. Value that time. Appreciate those quiet moments of stillness, and just making sure that we use our time wisely. Time is one of those things that we can't get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. And my bishop, Lester Love, here at the City of Love Church in New Orleans, he taught us that there are 3 things you should not waste. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money, and don't waste your life. Now, as it relates to money, you can get that back because you can make more. But definitely as it relates to your life, you cannot. And as it relates to your time, you cannot. Once it's gone, it's gone. You won't be able to get your life back. Time will just keep going. But you'll see that time is very necessary, and time is crucial in every stage, in every relationship, in every process, just in life in general. And when you think about starting a new job, for instance, there's that probationary period. The training period, it may last several weeks or even months. And it's a time frame that is set to ensure the success on the job. So just as it takes time to learn a new skill or a new position or a new job, that's the time that it takes to learn a new relationship, to cultivate a relationship. And we should think of relationships the same way. They require time. They require intentionality. They require focus. They require determination. And this can be done in weeks, months, or even years for some people. You must take the time to get to know the other person, their likes, dislikes, goals, dreams, fears. Really know them, the inside and outside of them, or as much as they allow you to know based on the type of relationship that you are. And really good relationships are lifetime commitments. So that means years of living, learning, growing, both individually and together. And as you grow and evolve in your life, so should your relationships. So that's just speaking to the time that it takes. I'm not going to say, it takes 1 month or 2 months. Time is different for everyone. And God's concept of time is different from ours. But just make sure that you are spending the necessary time, whatever that may mean for you, whatever that may mean for your relationship. And the development of the relationship is evident by how it progresses over time. So just making sure that you appreciate the time, that you value the time. Now, as I've grown up, my concept and appreciation of time has changed, because I try not to focus too much on time. And it's hard not to focus on it too much because it's always going to happen. But when I say that as it relates to a relationship, I try not to have a set standard of time, like, okay, it takes this much time for this, or, maybe it's too much or too soon to do that. But I just kind of sometimes go with the flow when I can. Don't throw caution to the wind, but just be mindful that we don't have as much time as we think. And I really learned that lesson earlier this year. I lost someone who was very near and dear to my heart, very close to me, my guy friend. And I thought about him just always wanting to spend time, and time can be spent in different ways. But, I'm referring to the time of actually, face-to-face, personal time, going places and doing things. And I'm always a person that I like to, when I can, be on a schedule. So because I wear so many crowns and I'm always doing something, I try to manage and balance my time effectively. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not always the best manager of my time, but I do try to make sure that I'm giving time to those people and things that are important to me, more specifically people, more so than things, but things as it relates to, my dreams and my goals, because they are important and they need some time as well. But just making sure that we respect time. I know COVID-19 has taught us a lot. We've had more time than we've ever had before. And that's time to get to know ourselves, quiet time. But it's also more time that we have not been able to spend with our family and friends, personally in that space because of the nature of the virus. And I think with that, just knowing that you can't, just go to your grandmother's house anymore, or go to that friend's house without, being mindful of wearing your mask, keeping your distance. That really helps you to appreciate those relationships in those moments when you can do those things. And just making sure outside of that you are incorporating a healthy balance of having time for yourself, because that's important as well. Just as you need time for your family and you need to maintain a healthy balance, you need to also make sure that you are allowing that same time for yourself to be refreshed, renewed, revived, and appreciating your own company. And oftentimes when we lose relationships or lose loved ones, I believe that we don't allow ourselves enough time to heal and even to grow sometimes. We don't really allow ourselves that process. We just move on to the next thing. More specifically as it relates to relationships. I know myself, I'm like, this relationship is ended. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this time. And sometimes I do, but it's not a required amount of time, like let's say 3 months or 6 months, because time is different for everyone. So while there is no standard amount of time, I would recommend that you take the time necessary for you, to heal, to grieve if it's the death of a loved one or a relationship. But oftentimes I feel like we just jump on the next train, a plane, a bus seemingly headed in our direction. And then we figure out later on it missed our stop completely. We're not even supposed to be on this bus. We were supposed to have gotten off a while ago. And We need to experience life, love, and learn what we truly want and need from a relationship. And time is necessary in the foundation of building strong relationships. So anything that you're going to build and you want it to be strong, it's going to require your time. Like if you think about a plant, you have to water it, it needs sunlight, it needs time. It's not going to grow overnight. And, some may, grow in days or weeks. Some may take months or years. So just knowing that you're on your own time in a sense and you don't have to rush, but making sure that you take the time that's necessary for you, but also that you're not wasting too much time on people and things that aren't really going to help you get to the next level, that aren't going to help you become to a better version of yourself, but making sure that time is spent wisely and that time is spent cultivating and developing those relationships that are going to be healthy and mutually beneficial. So I speak about managing a healthy balance because, like I said, our jobs, our children, our spouses, our families, our faith, is a lot of things competing for our time. And we only have 24 hours in a day. So when I think about, those who are great, the Warren Buffetts of the world and the Oprah Winfrey's, I'm like, okay, we all have the same amount of time. But what are they doing differently in their 24 hours that I'm not? Because they seem to be maximizing theirs. They seem to be doing the most. And it seems like I'm not really doing enough with my 24 hours. I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm trying to have family time, I'm trying to give my daughter time, I'm trying to give a little me time, I'm trying to do all these things that are requiring my time, but I don't feel as I'm always productive or being effective with my time. So just making sure that you are mindful with how you're spending your time, that you do give your family and friends that time and appreciate the time that you do spend with them, because God forbid something happen, you're going to be looking back and cherishing the memories of the time that you did spend and thinking about the time that you didn't. And that's really on a personal level when you experience loss, whether it's through that or through a relationship ending, it really makes you appreciate that time more and value that time that you had with that person.
I would agree. I think time is really important. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in our past that we miss our present, and we definitely miss the boat on our future because we're so caught up on what was, not what is, or even what could be. And then on the flip side, sometimes you get so caught up in the future, which is future time, right? Which technically does not exist yet, that
Right.
you miss out on the present moment because you're not where you should be, which is present at this time. And so I'm a big advocate of being in the moment and really learning how to appreciate the moment of that time, because life is just a series of moments. That's all it is. And so if you're in the moment all the time, then you're always there, right? You're always present, you're always there, and you have a clearer understanding of what's going to happen, what's before you, and you can know that whatever behind you is behind you, and it's not going to define what happens in this next moment. So I like that. I like that part of the book a lot.
I like that too, Kelly. And I love what you said. Life is a series of moments. And it's funny that we spoke about that because actually that's one of my 12 tips to becoming a better you. It's actually number 6, to be present in the moment. And as simple as it sounds, we know that it's not quite that easy, as you share. So be present in the moment is this moment that you and I are in now. It's not thinking about what we just did or what we're going to do, but it's cherishing this moment, because in the next moment, this moment will be over. And I like what you said. Time is always going to go on, whether you're in it or not. So one of my phrases is roll with it or get ran over by it, because it's still going to be going and you're going to be stuck in the past. And then you're going to look up like, where did all the time go? And it's going to be, months and weeks and years from now, and you're still there. So it's definitely important to be mindful and to appreciate the time, like you said. And I think more so, as I've shared, especially with COVID-19, I think a lot of people have definitely started to appreciate time more, the time that they spend with their family and friends, even those quiet moments. I know that I've appreciated, having this quiet time to reflect, to meditate, to pray, to work on my next projects but also having those moments when, things, although the world never stops, you at that moment, can stop and have those moments that you're going to need for yourself. And that all goes with having a healthy balance of time and understanding of time. So that's one of my favorite chapters, as I shared, just helping people to understand and appreciate time differently. And I think they're going to start doing that now.
Yeah, I think we all are too. I mean, if anything, COVID-19 taught me a little bit more patience because I'm not a patient person. I tend to want what I want when I want it. And COVID taught me how to just take a step back and let things happen naturally. So that was a big aha moment for me. And I think it kind of resonates with what you're saying in the book about time, because you never think you have enough and you actually have more than you think you do. Time is an illusion if you really think about it. But yeah, I like that. I don't think I've come across a lot of self-help books like this that really talk about time. So I'm glad that you took time in your book to actually talk about it. I appreciate the book so far. So by all means, continue.
Thank you. So after thinking about time, and as you shared, time is always going to be going. And I think about the time that we think we have. And it was just like one morning, one day, I just woke up like, what am I doing? God has given us so much time. We don't know, we don't know the day, the time, nor the hour that he's going to call us. But what am I doing with the time that he has given me? I don't want to look back and have my regrets of what I could have, should have, would have done with the time, and now it's too late, because that time will have been in the past. I won't be able to do anything about that. But what I can do is make sure now that I use my time wisely. Make sure now that I make choices that are going to positively affect me now, and make sure that I'm just being a good steward of the time that God has, that I'm serving others, that I'm trying to, become a better person, that I'm trying to live a life pleasing in his sight and take care of the time that he has given me. So after that, I speak about staying true to you, true to me, true to who you are. And it's not the person that you think you are. It's not the person that you portray on social media, but it's the person that God created you to be. And we can put on the front, we can be living this glamorous, fabulous life on social media. But the truth is that may not be our truth. And sometimes it's hard to extinguish the truth from reality. Like we have so many reality shows. They say reality, but you don't really know what, real and what's not. But when I speak about staying true to who you are, it's really the person that God has created you to be. And it's accepting that although we all have faults, flaws, and failures, because no one is perfect, is learning to embrace that about yourself and appreciating those things, because we are created in God's image and likeness, and thus we are perfect in his sight. So when we began to see ourselves and see individuals the way that God sees us, we'll see that we are perfect despite our imperfections. And in this chapter, I speak a lot about self-love, knowing your worth, loving yourself, knowing your value. And I think about Whitney Houston's song, The Greatest Love of All. And I share my fond memory that this was my kindergarten graduation song. And yes, I do remember my kindergarten graduation song. And, as we learned the song and sung it, it just resonated on so many levels. I was younger then, but as I'm older now, I can appreciate the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And when I think about that, for me, outside of loving God, of course, which is the first for me, then self-love is second, which is real love. And I know that in order for me to love you or anyone else, that I have to love myself. And that's loving all of me, not just the good parts of me, not just the positive things that I want to show, but that's loving the parts of me that aren't so good, that aren't so pretty or beautiful, that I don't really want others to see. That's the faults, flaws, and failures. And oftentimes when we have scars and bumps and bruises, we try to hide them. We put that little Band-Aid on them because we are ashamed of them and we are afraid of them. But what I've learned is that each one has a story to tell. And if you just think about any little scar, bump, or bruise you'll have, you'll think about how you got it. So I remember I had a little scrape on my knee. I was riding my bike and I fell off the bike. And that's the story, I can tell about it. I remember falling off the bike. I had a little scrape. So while, it was a little bobo and then bled, and, we put some Neosporin in the Band-Aid to kind of hide it. You have to allow it to breathe. You can't just cover up the bumps and bruises. So I'm saying, to make an analogy, you can't just cover up the parts of yourself that you don't want to show people. The parts of yourself that we want to hide, that we are ashamed of, because they are a part of who we are and they have shaped us into the individual that we are. So you must know who you are and where you are to know where you're going. And the person that I feel that knows us better than ourselves is God. He created us. So there is no one. Yes, your parents may know you. Yes, your friends or siblings and, may know you, but they don't know you like God knows you, because they didn't create you. Well, outside of your parents, but that's a little different. But, no one knows you like that. So if you want to know your purpose, if you want to know who you are, then pray, consult God, ask him, because he will reveal it to you in time. And in his own way, but that's the only way that I believe that you will know who you are and what your purpose is. So I share an experience in a time when I didn't always like myself. I always loved myself, but there were some times when I didn't really like myself because of some choices that I made. Some past decisions, some things I didn't like about the way I walked or talked. But knowing myself and my worth is all a part of the process. So there are going to be those moments, like I said, when you don't like certain things about yourself, but it doesn't mean that you don't love yourself, but just being able to accept them and to embrace them and to know that they're a part of you, and always staying true to who you are. And that's something that I've always tried to incorporate, in my personal life, and then thinking about my values and my beliefs and my morals. That's another part of staying true to who you are, not trying to appease anyone else or going along or get along, but standing boldly in who you are, being unapologetically you, being authentic. And that's all parts, that goes back to the flaws and failures. That goes back to accepting your strengths and your weaknesses and your past limitations. That all speaks to those parts of us that we try to hide, those parts of us that we don't like, but there are parts of us that we still need to accept and acknowledge, accept and adjust, because we want to get better. So it's all, it's all relative, and it's all very important on how you make sure that you're staying true to yourself. And once you're true to you, you can't help but to be true to others. It's like a trickle down effect. Now, if I can't love me, then I can't love you. If I don't love me in the way that I want and deserve, then I won't be able to show you. And that speaks to that part as well, because people are going to love you the best way that they know how. And if you aren't able to show them how you want, need, and deserve to be loved, then you may just accept what they give you. And if you don't love yourself, you won't have a standard to measure that by. If you just accept what they give you, then for me, in a sense, that is a form of, having a lack of self-esteem, or not really knowing your value and your worth, because you're worth more than that. And you need to know that, and they need to know that as well. So just making sure that you treat yourself the way you want people to be treated. You want people to treat you, as well as treating others the way you want to be treated as well. So just holding on to the truth that you cannot run or hide from God. And it's kind of funny. I remember I was preparing for one of my sermons at church, and I was thinking about hide and seek. And it was funny, you try to pick you a good little spot to hide so the person can't find you. And I'm like, yeah, you can do that with the person, but you can't do that with God. He sees all, he knows all. So if you go try to hide in a corner, he already knows. So you can't really play hide and seek with him. So that was just something that I thought about that was funny, kind of getting in a corner, and I can see you. He know, you're going to that corner. So just thinking about that, there is no hiding place from him. And he knows, because he created all, You wanted to say something about that part?
No, to say you can't hide from yourself either, right?
Right.
So
right.
You can cover up flaws in your personality. You can cover up what you consider to be flaws in the way that you look. There's all types of ways to change how you look. But you're still you, right? And you cannot hide from who you really are. And I think so many of us we try to be something that we're not, like I said earlier. You try to be what you think people want you to be. You try to be what you think will be accepted. And you're right, you're not being authentic or true to yourself. And it never works out because it's a facade. It's a facade and you can't keep it up forever, right? It's exhausting to be something that you're not. It's way more easier just to simply be who you are. And once you come to that point, I always say this, you have to be comfortable in your own skin in order to be able to learn to like yourself and love yourself and know your self-worth. So you got to be comfortable in your skin. And there's a lot of people out there who just aren't. And it's hard to get there. But like you said, over time, you can get there. You can get there.
Yes, I love that. And you're absolutely right. You can. But it's going to have to be a place that they want to get. It has to be a place that comes with acknowledge, accept, and adjust. And as I've shared earlier, we all have faults, flaws, and failures. We all have those things that we feel are imperfect about us, those things that we don't like about ourselves, those things that we want to try to hide from the world, like you said, but we cannot hide it from ourselves. The makeup is going to have to come off. It's going to at some point in time. Now, while you may be able to keep up the facade for a little while, like you said, that's overwhelming and exhausting. You don't want to do that forever because you're not going to be able to. And then that's going to create a whole can of worms. So if you just be who you are, accept and embrace who you are, people are going to do that because they are going to appreciate that authenticity. They're going to appreciate that, hey, this is this person. And I think depending on if it's a person who, is not there with themselves, you may also inspire and motivate them to embrace who they are, to be authentic in who they are, to help them get to that place where, I don't have to do this anymore to fit in. I don't have to, look a certain way or act a certain way or, dress a certain way. I'm perfect just the way that I am. And of course, we are all different, but it really goes to that self-love, that self-knowledge, that self-worth, and being able to, as you stated, be comfortable in your own skin. Even with those scars and bumps and bruises that we try to hide, even with those things that aren't, the prettiest about ourselves, but just learning to embrace them. I say embrace and accept. And then we allow others to do that, as well, not only for ourselves, but for themselves, because they'll begin to appreciate us. So with that, I speak about self-love is a process. And, it's more than lighting a candle, having your bubble bath, taking your walk. Now, those things that you can put, into practice that may go along with your self-love journey. And we know that everyone's journey is different. And yes, I do like my candles. I do like, to pray and meditate and have my bubble baths. But self-love goes beyond that. It goes to really learning yourself and knowing yourself. And that also speaks to spending time with yourself as well. How we spoke about spending time in relationships. You have to take time to get to know yourself, to get to know what you do and don't want, what you do and do not like, how you should and should not be treated. And that's a process. And that entails and requires that you spend time with yourself, that you learn how to enjoy your own company, that you enjoy those moments of solitude that I spoke about, having those still moments, being shut up in my room, playing my soft music, lighting my candle, making sure that I am right. Not just with the spirit, but right within myself, taking that personal reflection time, that time that I've, started to actually learn to like by being home and being inside and just being me, just being who you are. And you cannot do that if you don't know yourself. You cannot do that if you don't spend time with yourself. You cannot do that if you don't ask God to reveal to you who you are. And you can't do that if you're so busy. And in a book, I speak about busy people staying broke and productive people making profits. If you're so busy trying to do so much and be so much, then you're really losing out on time. And you're also really losing out, on yourself, because you're giving parts of yourself and pieces of yourself, to these different things and to these people. But you just have to make sure that, as I share, that you're making sure your cup is replenished, that you're staying refreshed and revived. And that requires that you love yourself, and it also requires that you spend time with yourself, as well as with your family members that are important. So I speak about looking deeper into yourself and becoming a better person, and just realizing that things are going to happen. Life is going to happen. We cannot control everything. And I think we like to have control. We just going to keep it real. We like to control things. We like to pretty much be in control of our day, of our schedule, of whatever it is happening. We like to be in control of it. And the truth is, we aren't as in control as we think we are. Now, yes, we can control some things, but the things that we can't control, we get all down about it, and we get all frustrated and aggravated, because I do that sometimes myself. I'm practicing, not to, because I know that I can only control that which I can control. So if I can't control this, why am I going to spend time, worrying about it and getting frustrated and aggravated? I don't have nothing to do with that, but I can control how I spend my time. I can control the choices that I make. I can control how I choose to love myself and how I choose to accept the love that you want to show me. So I'm going to spend my time and my energy and my effort focusing on those things that I can control, because I believe that is a form of self-love as well. And just making sure that you have more time to do things that are important to you and for you. And you can think and become those things that you want to before your journey is over.
Yeah, I would agree. Control is a thing that I think we all want to be able to control everything that happens to us. You are not in control of everything that happens to you. And so I just personally, I have really focused on just trying to control the things that I can control, that are in with my realm to control, and I don't so much focus on things that are out of my control. Not saying that they're not on my radar, because they are, but I don't necessarily worry or focus on them because I cannot control them. And I have found personally that has helped me cope through a lot of things. Also, one thing that you said about loving yourself, spending time with yourself, and this is a question that I'll ask you. Do you think that if you truly love yourself and appreciate yourself, that you are ever lonely?
Oh, Kelly, that's a good question. I would say no. I would say no for two reasons. I would say no because when you learn to love yourself, you can appreciate your own company, as well as that you're never alone because you have God. So alone in the sense of, I don't have another person physically in the flesh, but I'm not alone because I have God. I have His Spirit with me, and I have my own company. So I actually now enjoy those moments, of being alone. Now, alone and lonely is two different things. Am I ever alone? No, I'm never alone.
Yeah, I would believe that too. I think that people sometimes think that they have to have somebody there with them all the time and don't appreciate just themselves. I spend a lot of time with me, and so I like spending time with me, and my time is valuable. So when I do choose to spend it with others, it's important that it be somebody that I really want to spend time with. For example, us on this podcast today, right? Because it's important. It's important. So, and I like the way that you bring it up in the book, because I don't think a lot of us think about it a lot. We don't. There's a lot of things in the book that you bring to light that I think that we all know, that we just maybe don't think about until somebody brings it to your attention. And so I just wanted to point that out. That's why I so love this book. And we're not even done yet, are we? Where are we now in the book? Because
So
I know that we're not
chapter
done.
8. We're on chapter 8, so we have one more chapter. So we're almost there, but not there quite yet.
No, I'm saying that because it's like a blueprint, and like a blueprint is kind of giving you directions But it's up to you to actually read the blueprint and follow the directions. It's like somebody used to say to me, and I never understood this for a long time, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I remember people saying that to me when I was a kid and not understanding that. Now I get it. And this is that same thing when I'm saying all your book has all these great nuggets and all this great information. I hope that we doing this podcast together have reached at least one person who will take this and be like, you know what? I'm ready to implement this, because I think only good can come from it.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I really thank you for this opportunity. So we're almost done, but not just quite. I have a few other things in store. So we're still in Stay True to Me, chapter 8. And now we're getting ready to talk about love and relationships. And I have a quote by Helen Keller. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. So as this relates to getting into relationships, so now we've loved ourselves and now we're beginning to love others. And that's, family members, friends, romantic, children, spouses, whatever relationships that we are. But it's just learning how to appreciate the love that others, give us. And as I share, making sure that they love you the way that you want, need, and desire to be loved. And I think about romantic relationships, and I really believe that they are the best and can be the best, but they also require the most work and the most time. And you think about it like this, and I always have this question that I ask, potential guys, acquaintances, whatever. I always like them to rate beauty, intelligence, and personality. And I ask that question because, the response is going to be different for different people. And I think about beauty being in the eye of the beholder. And I like to get an idea of what it is, that they are looking for. And honestly speaking, when we first meet a person, the first thing we see is their physical. We can agree to that, correct? Because you don't know if I'm intelligent. You don't know if I have a great personality. Okay, she looks good, and I may want to get to know her better. Or he's handsome, or I may want to get to know him better. So the obvious thing would be beauty, or attraction. There's something that physically attracts you to this person. Now, once you get to know the person and you converse with them and you spend time with them, then they may have, a good personality you like. Or they may not have, they may have a not so good personality. They may be stubborn or, stuck on themselves or, selfish. But you won't know that until you take that time to get to know them. As well as with intelligence, you can, have a few conversations, see where their mind is. And it's funny because I go back to, when I did this even in middle school and high school, because I really wanted to know, at that time what was important, because we know that beauty fades away. And when I think about myself, I always say that I'm more than just my looks, personality, or intelligence. There's more to me than what meets the eye. So you will see me, but you won't really see me until I allow you, to see me or know me in that manner. Because we can be fooled by what we see. We see the exterior. And we love it. It's beautiful. She got this body. He handsome. He built. But God looks at the interior. God looks at the heart. And although, the guy may not be the Denzel or the Idris Elba, but he has a great heart. He's kind. He's loving. He's forgiving. He's nurturing. He's all those other things that we want. Remember, he's supportive. He's loyal. He makes the sacrifices. He communicates effectively. So it's just being able to know that sometimes we look at artificial signs of love because that's what we see, that's what we want. But it's about more than that. And if we truly want to see people the way that God sees them, we have to look at the heart, which is the interior. And I believe that goes with self-love and that goes with self-happiness. It will manifest itself within first, and then it will come without. Then it'll show up without. And then although you may, see the person and it may not be the the most physically attractive, because they have such a kind heart and spirit, that may even make them look better, because you'll see them in a different light. And just learning that it's not always about a physical attraction. And I'll say, I want to have a spiritual, a mental, physical. I mean, you do want someone that, is, you want to look at and be around. But if you have to choose that over the person that you're mentally and spiritually and emotionally connected with, then you have a choice to make. And as I said, beauty with faith. He can be Denzel today and Boo Boo a couple years from now, but just making sure that, you're looking at the right part of the person. And like I said, even when, they may not be the best looking on the outside, because they have such a good heart, that can make them more attractive. And you just have to know what it is that you do or don't want, and not base your relationships on society standards, because it may not be the most popular person. We like to root for the underdog. He may not be the captain of the football team, or the track team. He may be a little somebody you only seen a couple times in the geek squad, or the glee club. But he has a great personality. He's a sensitive guy. He's caring. And the guy on the football team, he already, has his pick of the litter. So his mindset is one of cockiness or arrogance, maybe. And although he may be the best looking, most popular guy, he's not the right one for you. And you'll see that in life, as I'm sure you see this guy with this girl, like, how did she get him? What did he see in her? And yet he saw something in her that you did. You missed out on it because you were looking at the outside instead of the inside. And, I just had to bring that up in that section because that's very important. And I don't want us to miss out and lose out on life and on really good people, whether it's for a romantic relationship, friendship, anything, no matter what type it is. And that's actually a lesson that I learned myself. And you don't want that, to be you. You don't want to have to be like, wow, I really missed out on a good friend, or a good guy, because he wasn't initially the package that I would have liked, or initially, he wasn't as tall and built as I wanted, but he had everything else. And that's just speaking to another point of view, being confident in who you are. Your reflection, the way you see others, I believe that the way you view others is a reflection of the way you view yourself, in a sense. So if you can see that in someone else, it's because you either do or do not see it in yourself. So that's all, that can be an issue. But as I speak about the best relationships, I say the best relationships are those that encourage you to be yourself, nothing more and nothing less. There is value in being involved with people who love you despite your flaws, falls, and failures. Even despite being imperfect, different, beautiful, and not so beautiful. They accept you for who you are, and they don't try to change you. They just simply want to be with you and constantly speak into your life as they want the best version of you. They realize that you can get better together, and they understand that building a relationship is a process. They see the caterpillar stage now, but they also know when the time is right, you will become that beautiful butterfly. A better version of you makes him or her want to be better. And I just had to share that quote because it's very important that when we engage in these relationships that are healthy and mutually beneficial, that we get with people that accept us for who we are. We all want to get better, or all should, and there are all some things that we can change about ourselves, but this person is not going to try to change us. This person is going to accept us for who they are. Now, if there are some changes that we want to make, they are going to support and encourage, but they aren't going to be a person that comes into our life just trying to drastically change who we are and what we do and how we do. But they do want a better version of you, and that's going to motivate them to become a better version of themselves. And I think that is a sign of you finding a right person, a right friend, the right spouse. I think that's a sign of you being free to be yourselves. You want to be with a person that doesn't judge, that's loving and understanding, a person that is securing themselves. If I'm not securing me, how can I be securing you and what you bring to the relationship? So you just want to make sure that you're thinking about those things and those people that bring out certain things in you, preferably the good things, the positive things. And that you see the process. that you see the potential, and that you know that it is a process that we all must undergo.
So you had talked about the book being interactive, that now that we've gone through all 3 sections, you talked about there being a workbook and doing exercises, and I guess that's what I would call the techniques and ways that you can to work through everything. So is the book something that should be used? And I know the answer to the question, but I want to hear what you have to say. I think I know the answer to the question.
Okay.
I should say. Is the workbook and book something that can be used obviously over time, but it is timeless? You know, you can keep coming back to it. You can change the workbook. You can change the things that are going on, because obviously things are constantly changing, right? So
Right.
The workbook is not only interactive, it's a tool that you can continue to go back to, correct?
Yes, you put that so well, Kelly. Yes, and it's going to require that you do that, because as you stated, you're constantly growing and evolving. And as you're constantly doing that, you know, you're going to be in relationships and you're not going to be in relationships. So it is something that you can, let's say now you're thinking about a familiar relationship, but you can use that same concept and think about a friendship. You know, you can use that same concept and go back to a business partnership or to a romantic relationship, you know, and do the lessons over and over as it pertains to that particular relationship, because there's always going to be something that's going to come back to you, you know, later. You're always going to have those moments, or should have those moments, of self-reflection and evaluation. And as you do that, you're going to see things differently. You know, you're going to see this in that relationship, but you may see something else in a different relationship. And it's going to, you know, the questions and exercises are really going to help evaluate what you were meant to get from those relationships. You know, what did you get? Then what do you get now? You know, okay, what you got then may be different from what you're seeing now, because now you're seeing it in a different way because you've read the book. You like, okay, you know what, I'm going to go back and think about that relationship. And then you're going to see the lessons and blessings that you didn't see at that time, you know, as you've shared in our communication. So Transforming Light is chapter number 9. And it's pretty much is just tying it all in. It's allowing ourselves to be the beacons of light and hope to others. It's allowing our lights to shine, because I believe that we are all stars in our own right, and that just as God has given us gifts and talents and abilities, He has given us all a light, and that we should not be afraid to let our light shine, even in a world full of darkness. We know this year alone, we've experienced a lot of racial injustice and police brutality, but just letting your light shine so that others can see the will of God working in us, so that they can see that even in the midst, you know, of this pandemic, even in the midst of the world being dark, there is still good things happening to people. You know, there is still God shining His light in, through, and upon us. And we often sometimes try to downplay our light, and we try to dim our light or dull our sparkle for people because they may not be able to handle it. And in this particular section, I speak about a situation I experienced when I was considering to dim my light. And it's funny, as you may not know, my nickname is Hollywood. And when you think about, you know, Hollywood, you think about celebrities, you think about stars. And I'm just like, you know, God made stars to shine. You know, that's what He did. You know, that's our purpose. And we do a disservice to God as well as to ourselves when we don't let our light shine. And at this particular time, it was an experience that I was going through with a coworker. And sometimes people can't handle our light, and because they feel insecure or they feel uneasy around us. And I realized that I wasn't doing anything special or different. I was just being myself. And sometimes people can't handle that. You know, we speak about loving ourselves, but sometimes people can't handle who we really are, and they can see things in us that we can't see in ourselves. So, like I said, I thought about, you know, dimming my light a little bit, trying to be a little less. But then I realized it wasn't going to work because I couldn't be. You know, I am who God created me to be. So I wasn't going to be able to dim my light or dull my sparkle. And then I kind of felt bad for even the thought occurring to me, you know, to do that, because that would have been, you know, a disservice to God, as I've shared. He made us to shine. He made stars to shine. And even when you try to disguise it, And I use the analogy, okay, the celebrities, they wear shades, but you still know who they are. And it's funny because with my nickname being Hollywood, I love shades as well. And I'm like, I wear these shades, but I'm not really hiding. You may think you're hiding, or disguising yourself, but people still, still see right through it and they still know you. So it's an encouragement for you to let your light shine, to be as bright as you want to be, to sparkle and shine, because that's how God made us. And to wrap it all up, in the book, I symbolize, I bring up the analogy of the Wizard of Oz that was actually on last night. And when I think about it, I think about life being a journey and how it's symbolical of everything that goes on. And I think about the people. I think about Dorothy and how she started, at home and running away because she wasn't feeling loved and they weren't treating her like a baby and all that stuff. You know the story. And I think about the reason she was running away from home. And I think about the characters that she met along the way. Remember, in a previous episode, I spoke about the power of connections. And I think about the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow. The people that God will place in your life for different reasons. But you're all on a journey trying to get somewhere. And although they each needed something. They each needed something. But their journeys were all connected. And they lacked something in their lives, but they needed someone to help them get to it. And when they, undertake this journey, you know how it is. They get to the wizard and he tells them this. And it's like, how many times have we gone down that road and ignored this person? Ignored the scarecrows, the Tin Mans and the Cowardly Lions of the world. And then you get to the end, or what is supposed to be the end, and you realize that you always had what you needed. He always had a heart because he was trying to look after his friends, because he cared for his friends. He was always strong and courageous because he tried to save his friends, the Cowardly Lion. The Scarecrow always had a brain because he was trying to think about what he could do. So you always have what you need. And sometimes you have to go through this journey. And sometimes you have to meet these people in order to help you get there. And that's just the beauty of life. And when I think about this book, I think about me going back to being a little girl at 8 or 9 years old, liking to write, liking to speak and act. And life took me in different places. It took me here, it took me there. I've met some people, I've had some opportunities, but it brought me right back to where I was meant to be at this moment. I didn't think I was going to be an author, but that's the beauty of life. That's the journey of it, and being able to live it and to learn those lessons and to be able to love the legacy all ties it in for how we should live our lives and how we should see life, because everyone goes through it at different stages, at different times, but they just don't see it that way. They just may not see it that way. And I think if you allow yourself, as you have done through this journey with us, you will see that, hey, you started out here and you're here. But everything that you needed, you already possess. You just needed someone to come along and help pull that out of you. Someone to pour into you. Someone to help you sparkle, help that light sparkle and shine some more. Help you get to where you're meant to be. And when I think about, the whole process, I'm like, you know what, Lord? This is where I'm meant to be at this time. Of course, we always feel like, at this age, I should be here, or at this age, I should be there. But when I went through this process and this journey of writing this book, I realized that I am where I'm meant to be at this moment. My life is what it is. Like you said, being present in the moment. Yes, I have not always made the best decisions. And I do realize that, that could be a result of it as well. But just appreciating, acknowledging, and accepting me for who I am, despite my flaws, faults, and failures. And just knowing that because my heart is open, I'm able to give and receive the love of God, because I have allowed myself to continue on this process, on this journey, and being able to help others on their journey and get them to see the beauty in it. To know that, we are all a work in progress. And if you just keep living and learning and loving with an open heart, you'll reach a destination. You'll be exactly where you're meant to be at that moment. So that's just the beauty of this book. That's me sharing the lessons and blessings that I've learned. That's me encouraging others to, to stop going through life, blindly and aimlessly, to appreciate people, to appreciate time, And it seems like we always searching for this seamlessly unattainable thing. And the thing we want is always, oftentimes, right in front of our faces. So that is live, learn, love with an open heart. That is me opening my heart to you, and that is me sharing my journey that I am still currently am in life to becoming a better version of myself. That is me being present in a moment, meditating daily, surrounding myself with positive people, living a healthier lifestyle, not only in my body, but having a healthy spirit and a healthy mind. That is me learning, expanding my mind, reading. That is me loving God, myself, and others. That is me living my life on my terms, not comparing myself to anyone else, just doing me and living the life that God has created for me to live.
Wow. And if y'all don't go get this book with everything that she just said, I don't know how you could not. Again, the book is Live, Learn, and Love with an Open Heart. Teriece Cherell is an author. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and I'm sure other online ebook retailers. I, for one, am so very thankful and grateful that you have shared the entire book with us, and you've really given a lot of insight, and you've really put yourself out there, using yourself as an example, making yourself vulnerable to others, willing to share so that others can learn from your example is huge. It's absolutely huge. And so I am thankful that you wrote the book. I am so glad that we connected and that we met and that you could come on the podcast and share your book. I'm always so excited and grateful to hear the words that you said, because it resonates with just me as an individual and the journey that I'm also on, called life, right? And so as always, I always like to ask, I know you said a lot, I know you said a mouthful, I know you did, okay? However, what words would you like to leave the listeners with before we sign off on this particular episode?
I have to give them a word outside of thanking you and thanking them for this opportunity. Yes, I would recommend that you go out and buy this book, buy it for a family member or friend. It really helps you to appreciate and acknowledge those relationships. All relationships are lessons and blessings. Even the ones that don't work out, there is still a lesson to be learned. And if you want to, learn about yourself, if you want to understand where you are on this process, on this journey called life, and if you need any type of assistance, please use this book. As my girl Kelly said, it's a blueprint. It's a guide to help you. Feel free to reach out to me. She'll have my information listed. And I just want you to know that if no one told you, I love you. Always keep an open heart. Always keep an open mind. Just allow God's light to shine in and through you. Never give up. Never give in. Make sure that you are following your dreams and your goals. And just never give up. Make sure that you are surrounding yourself with positive people and then making the best decisions for your life right now. And I just want to thank you for your time. Live, Learn, Love with an Open Heart. Life Lessons on Cultivating Healthy and Meaningful Relationships is the book that you need to read in order to get back on track. If you are off track, and to get a better understanding of relationships and yourself in relationships. So I have a 30-day devotional prayer journal that accompanies Live, Learn, Love with an Open Heart. And I also have a workbook companion. The workbook is currently out. It's not on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, but you can get it through me. My website is www.teriececherell.com, TerieceCherell.com. And you want to subscribe to my newsletter so that you can be the first to know when the devotional journal is dropping. I'm going to have some special bundle deals where you can get all three: the book, the workbook, and the journal, your signed autograph copy, your bookmark, and some other goodies. So this will be coming out next month, so definitely stay tuned. And I have some other projects in the works as well. I'll be doing my relationship coaching and consulting services through my business, Transforming Consciously. And you can also find that information on my website. And just thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
That is well said. So this has been another episode of Bright Headed Publishing Patio Book Club. As always, I am your host, Kelly Morgan. And again, as always, listening audience, keep writing.